So it's been another month since I last reviewed the POCO X4 GT. I know that 2 months is still not enough time to make a compelling long-term review, but considering how fast-paced the tech industry is, almost every month there's a new phone on the horizon. So after 60 days with the X4 GT, is now the best time to get this phone? Or should you wait until the next release? And how did it perform for the past 2 months, given the bad rap MIUI gets from the community? Well, let's find out, right after a short message from today's sponsor. Okay, first things first, the display. A lot of you are really skeptical about the display of the X4 GT since it's using IPS LCD instead of OLED, which is becoming a standard on smartphones. I'm going to say right off the bat, this display is damn good for an LCD. It's definitely not as bright as OLED nor as colorful, as well as the contrast ratio. But for an LCD, the quality of this display is in between an OLED and a regular LCD panel. The colors look very good but not overly saturated. The brightness level isn't the highest, but it's visible enough outdoors. And the black level is good enough for an LCD and enough to be not distracting when watching dimly lit videos. There are basically no issues with the display. It can even play back Dolby Vision content on Netflix, which is a common problem with regular OLED phones as they typically don't support Dolby Vision. So if you notice some videos on Netflix appearing too dark, that's because that certain device doesn't support Dolby Vision. As for the longevity of this display, this phone is less likely to suffer from burn-in, especially the ones with static text and images like the navigation and status bars. I mean, when was the last time you don't have to worry about leaving your phone's display turned on, knowing it's not going to cause any permanent damage to the screen? I really like having that peace of mind sometimes, you know. The other great thing about this display is the refresh rate. At 144Hz, there were times when I would notice the X4 GT screen is more fluid than the Xiaomi 12 Pro's 120Hz. Sure, the X4 GT has a slightly faster screen, but there are other aspects that also affect the general performance and fluidity of the device, particularly the chipset and the software. So the software on the X4 GT is, again, one of the most optimized versions I've seen so far. There are literally zero lags, even when I have a video playing in the foreground. The only bug I've seen here is that there are times when unlocking the phone, the launcher would act as if it's restarting. You know, when all the icons are taking time to load, but it's just like a couple of seconds and it only happens during long standby times. But again, this is one of the things I really like about the POCO X series. They almost consistently deliver great software, whether the chipset is high-end, low-end, or mid-end. But what about that Dimensity 8100? I mean, this chipset, it doesn't matter what you throw at it, it's going to get the job done. It's definitely faster than the fan-favorite Snapdragon 870 while trading blows with the Snapdragon 888. It doesn't overheat as much as the 870, and the battery efficiency is just phenomenal. I know that this has something to do more with the software and Xiaomi's strict background optimization, but with this phone, the 8100 really shines in the performance department. Battery-wise, I know most of you are concerned about the battery, but thanks to the 5080 mAh inside this phone, there's no reason to worry about the battery life. Without gaming, just regular social media and streaming use, I can easily reach 7 to 8 hours of screen time. With gaming, the number dips to 4 hours of screen time, which isn't bad considering how powerful this chipset is. When I hardly use my phone, I typically end the first day with 50 to 60%. Sometimes, when I'm really busy, I can leave this phone on standby for at least 3 days with just enough juice to squeeze an hour or two worth of screen time. That's how great the battery life on this phone, and that's with the display set 144Hz all the time. But Xiaomi devices tend to have good battery life most of the time due to the battery optimization made by the developers. And one downside of that is the late arrival of notifications. Well, on the X4 GT, a few apps still send out late notifs, but most of the time, like 90% of the time, my notifications from Messenger, Instagram, and even Gmail arrive just on time. The most common occurrence where I notice late notifs is when I leave the phone overnight and my Twitter notifs come in once I turn on the screen. But so far, not a big deal to me. As for the cameras, I didn't notice any huge improvements since our last review. The quality you get is okay most of the time, but clearly this phone is geared toward gamers and power users than camera-centric ones. Now, one of the biggest questions I get is whether this phone is worth considering over the POCO F4. My answer to that question would be yes. If you're looking for better performance, better battery life, and as well as a headphone jack, this is worth it over the F4. As a daily driver, yes, it's also worth it, but that still depends on what kind of a user you are. If you're into cameras more than the performance, you're better off with the F4. But if you want the best camera and the best performance, you have to spend more for the likes of Xiaomi 12 Pro or something equivalent from other brands. But 60 days later, the POCO X4 GT is still a solid gaming phone first. I feel like this phone can last a long time, provided POCO doesn't ruin the software experience for the next few years. So that's basically it. Let me know your thoughts about a POCO X4 GT down in the comments section. Drop a sub or a like if you feel like supporting the channel. And until the next one, as always, stay safe.